Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Wolvenreign. Today, we have a commission for you all. A crossover between the Elder Scrolls and RWBY universes. So sit down, lay back, and enjoy. Prologue. In the Daedric realm of Oblivion, known as the Shivering Isles, in the city of New Sheoth. Within the palace, on the throne of madness, sat a most interesting individual. With gray hair, beard, and blue eyes, and wearing a prim suit. He was bored, so bored, one such as he should never be bored, for he was the Daedric Prince of Madness, Sheogorath. He looked into the abyss, and the abyss flinched away, and he spoke with an accent mixed with Irish and Scottish.
Greetings, mortals, and welcome to the story the kind author has written. I wish it was a death threat written on an Argonian concubine, but it's just as good, or better. But not as good as cheese or jumping rope with your intestines. So please, enjoy this sad mortal's excuse for a story, or I'll rip out your eyes.
I stared out the bedroom window. It was a beautiful day in Vale. Sun shining, birds singing, kids playing in the streets and adults walking to and fro. It was peaceful. I saw an old married couple sitting out in a cafe while a faunus girl with an apron and bunny ears took their order. I smiled and turned to my bedroom door and walked out the room. It's been several millennia, but it's nice to see peace on Nirn again, I thought as he came out of the room and walking downstairs to the kitchen. I saw a blonde, middle-aged woman with a riding crop and glasses standing beside a gray-haired man with a similar age to the woman wielding a coffee mug in his right hand and a cane in his left sitting on the table. "What can I do for you two?" I asked as I looked them over and sat across from the man. I was actually impressed that they got in without me finding out. The man coughed into his gloved hand and spoke. "Sorry to come unannounced. My name is Professor Ozpin, and this is my assistant, Professor Goodwitch. We know of your history, Wolvenreign, and wish that you come work at Beacon as an assistant for one of the professors there." I sighed. I thought since the vast history of Tamriel was lost in the Sundering, I would be safe to live a peaceful life. Guess that's over. Immortality has its perks, though. I smiled. "You wish for me to help you train hunters and huntresses? I'm immortal and know a lot from the times of Tamriel, but why do you want this old Dunmer? Also, my name is Vaves Indorel. I haven't been known as the Wolvenreign for millions of years." The man had an amused expression on his face as he spoke. "Mr. Indorel, we would like for you to work as an assistant to one Dr. Ublek, who is our history professor. Since you know more of this world's history than anyone alive, we think your knowledge will be of great benefit to our students, as well as ourselves." I saw Ozpin smile, and I couldn't help but chuckle. "Of course, I will be glad to help. I have a few possessions that stayed with me since the Sundering, and in the last decade I became adept at using a dust pistol. I'll be fully packed in an hour, and I'll see you at Beacon." Ozpin and Goodwitch nodded and left. After they left, I started packing my things, my well-maintained, polished, and sharpened Daedric sword, its black and red surface with its serrated edge shining in the light, the blade deadly and effective even in today's standards for weapons. Sheathing it on my belt so I could feel its weight on my hip and holstering my dust pistol on my right. It was a simple design with the Telvanni crest on the grip. The weapon used fire dust to propel rounds towards the target. Pretty simple. I had two Daedric swords, but I tried having my other one melted down so it could be a transforming sword/gun. But the people of this age have never worked Daedric metal, so it was a failure. I packed up my clothes and other odd assortments of items I would need, such as toiletries and sleepwear, and then left the house, locking the door behind me. I saw Ozpin and Goodwitch waiting outside. They then escorted me to a bullhead. I entered the hover vehicle and took a seat, having never flown before. "I have a question, Mr. Indoril," Ozpin asked me as I looked at him. "What happened after the Sundering?" I looked down as I remembered how the world had cracked apart and Tamriel divided into 5 pieces. "The last Dragonborn and I went down to Blackreach to check on why the Falmer weren't in the Dwemer ruins that they are known to frequent. And then we found them in the Silent City. The underground fortress of the Falmer surrounded by the blind creatures. We sneaked inside and saw a massive altar in the center, with Daedric runes etched on it. They had their slaves bent down, with skulkers with swords at the ready. A warmonger stood on top of the altar, speaking in its twisted language. Then the skulkers killed the slaves, and a portal opened up on the altar, revealing the Daedric prince of the hunt, Hircine.
"Mortals, why have you summoned me?"
The warmonger spoke in broken common.
"We wish that all the betrayed became the greatest threat against the surface dwellers. So make us the greatest hunters that Nirn has ever seen."
Hircine chuckled and smiled as he nodded.
"As you wish, mortal. I will take the souls of all the betrayed Falmer and turn you into the greatest hunters, Grim."
With that, we left while the Falmer were being transformed, howls and growls following us to a steam lift as we escaped to the surface to warn the settlements that the Falmer made a deal with Hircine and became dark monsters known as Grim. We then discovered dust after a few centuries of fighting the beasts, and history restarted from there. I looked around and saw their faces. Good Witch had a small frown on her face, and Ozpin looked at me with a puzzled expression on his face. So that's why the Grim have such hatred for humanity. Thank you for telling us this, Mr. Indoril. Soon we reached Beacon and landed on the pad for airships. We then got off the Bullhead and walked towards the towering academy. "Reminds me of White Gold Tower," I said in awe. "Glad you approve. I'm proud of this school and everyone in it," Ozpin said with a smile.